Hey everybody, Steve here from Thinking Sideways. I'm of course joined by my unnatural co-host, Ben.
G'day, buddy.
What you're about to listen to is an episode of the new podcast Ben and I host called Unnatural. This show brings you stories about the strange and the weird, things that'll make you think twice about the world around you. And now, we hope you enjoy this episode, but please be aware that only a couple of the episodes are going to be featured in this podcast feed. So if you enjoy this show, please look up and subscribe to Unnatural Podcast on whatever your favorite podcast platform is. That's how you're going to get us for all future episodes. All right, thanks, guys. We'll talk to you soon.
Abnormal, irregular, atypical, deviant. Unnatural, a podcast about things in our world that are inconsistent with what we foolishly expect. Join Ben and Steve as they share stories that you won't believe are real.
Hey, it's Ben here. This is episode 1 of Unnatural. Steve, how are you going, mate?
I'm doing good, buddy. How about yourself?
Yeah. Well, I'm so excited about the podcast, so it's going to be great. I think people will love it. Love the first episode.
Oh, yeah. The first episodes are always the best.
Yeah. And that's why we've chosen Slow Loris.
All right. So what are we talking about today, man?
Our unnatural story of the day comes from the pristine rainforests of Southeast Asia, Steve, and features a fuzzy, cute, big-eyed little fella called the Slow Loris. Instagram ready.
I believe there's probably already accounts out there for that little guy.
Yeah, there probably is. So I had so much fun researching this animal. I first noticed it on my Facebook feed, Steve. So I can't believe I've never heard of the Slow Loris before. And secondly, it's fascinating because it does have a deadly side. Listener, if you've never heard of the Slow Loris before, then you're in for a real treat. This is one interesting animal. When I came across it, I was so surprised by it. So, had you known of this animal before, Steve?
I'm pretty sure that I have seen pictures of the Slow Loris before, but they're of that breed of cute little monkeys, and there's a billion of those things, so I didn't really know what it was specifically.
Yeah, it's pretty cute. Before I shared those show notes with you, I knew nothing about the Slow Loris. So it was just me researching, finding out about this Slow Loris and just being really surprised. I didn't realize that something out there so cute could be so deadly, which was just really weird.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Odd.
So, it is odd. So here's some information I've gathered. So the Slow Loris is a nocturnal strepsirini. I think I said that right. Primate.
I think it's strepsirini. Mm-hmm.
Strepsirini. It's related to lemurs. You know the lemurs from Madagascar.
Oh, yeah.
The cartoon.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah? Yeah, they're beautiful little guys. So, well, the Slow Loris looks like a lemur. That's why I mentioned it. I really love lemurs. They're probably my favorite animal. But if anyone wants to know the biological classification of Strepsirini, it's a primate suborder of Strepsirrhini or something like that. It consists of lemurs, lorises, so other lorises, some bush babies. I don't know what bush babies are, and characteristically have a moist area around their nostrils. So very interesting stuff. Do you know what a bush baby is, Steve?
I did, and then I forgot, and I'm going to look right now.
Because initially, listener, so Steve and I worked on this episode. We've worked on all these episodes together, but bush babies was something that Steve found out about. So I'm not 100% sure what a bush baby is.
So a bush baby looks kind of like. Do you know what a sugar glider is?
Yes, you mean like a flying fox, nearly?
Yeah, kind of. Yeah, they look like that. They're small with big ears and cute eyes, and generically are not something that's going to eat your face off.
Okay. They sound really cute. Fair enough. So the slow loris, they live their lives in the wet, humid forests of Southeast Asia, from I think it's Malaysia, Borneo to India and into the Philippines, and it's the only primate in the world to be venomous. So that's why this is so interesting. So there's actual sexual glands that are located on their elbows. So I'm touching my elbow at the moment.
It's the inside. It's the inside of their elbow.
It's the inside of the elbow.
Yeah. You know when you bend your elbow, the crook of your elbow on the inside. That's where that gland is at.
Hey, you can see Steve did more research than I did.
Well, I was trying to listen. I was reading the stuff, and I was like, "How? Yeah. Okay, if he's got to lick his elbow, have you ever tried to lick your elbow? It's not easy." Yeah. So I was trying to figure out, how does it lick its elbow?
Oh, yeah. So it's much easier to lick the inside of your elbow. Actually, listener, listener who's listening right now, try and lick your elbow and then try and lick the inside of your elbow. It's much easier, the inside. So is that what made you think that the gland was the inside?
Well, it was. That's what I figured, and so I looked it up. I had to find images of the gland or drawings of the gland to try and figure it out.
Yeah, I only found pictures of the beautiful little critter. I didn't go so far to look at the sexual gland or whatever that is. It's a sexual gland, isn't it? Yeah,
that's what it says. I don't know.
That's weird, though.
Yeah, I tried to understand it, but I'm not exactly sure. So I don't want to venture and tell people what it means because I'm not a biologist, so I don't quite understand how that part works. Why they call it a sexual gland?
Well, that's why I got you on. That sounds like a Travel Man podcast comment. That's why I've got you on, to talk about sexual glands.
Yeah, okay. Moving on.
Moving on. The toxic venom is actually used as a deterrent to any predators looking to take on this feisty little guy. So even though they look like the cutest things in the world, just like myself and Steve, please don't pick them up. And you probably won't pick them up because they're probably going to be up in trees. And they're very dangerous, so don't touch them. Now, another interesting thing about the slow loris is that it's got an extra piece of vertebra in its back. So when it's threatened, the slow loris, it's doing what I'm doing now. It's lifting its arms above its head, extending its arms, putting its palms together, stretching crack. I just heard a crack in my back to give the appearance of a deadly cobra. So that's pretty interesting stuff. And it partially actually explains the development and use of the venom, forming that cobra, looking like a cobra. I find that very interesting. I'm sure one day we'll figure out how that was developed. Maybe, Steve, we can do a part 2 of this episode and we can do the origins of venom in its sexual glands or the development of venom as a defense mechanism. Oh.
Yeah.
What do you reckon? One day.
Development of venom as a defense, that's always been pretty interesting, so I don't see why not, but we'll see what happens.
Okay, so listener and listeners, whoever you are in the world listening to part 1 of this fantastic podcast, so that might be coming one day. And also, Steve, you've obviously seen photos of the slow loris, with those beautiful big eyes.
Yeah.
And you know the Gremlins. Remember Gremlins, the film?
Of course.
So they kind of remind me of a gremlin, but not the bad gremlin, the good one.
Oh, you mean Gizmo?
Gizmo, yeah, Gizmo. That's the one I'm talking about. Gizmo was so cute.
Yeah, the Mogwai.
Mogwai. So that's not a gremlin then.
No, you're getting it mixed up because when they're cute and fuzzy, they're Mogwai. When they're ugly and scaly, that's when they're gremlins.
Uh-huh. And it looks like I need to be watching that film again soon.
Oh, I wrote an entire paper on it in college. It's the only reason I know so much about it.
Fair enough. Now, we've got a bit of a story to tell about this little gremlin Mogwai guy.
Yeah. So here's the deal: is that we've told you that it's kind of dangerous, and we've all heard that some things are dangerous, and they don't turn out to be as dangerous as you might think. But in the case of the slow loris, it's really true. And so this story is about a man named George Madani, and back in April of 2012, he's a biologist, by the way. He and his friend David Nelson were on a wildlife survey in Malaysia, in Borneo, and they were in an area that is really apparently only accessible by air. So it sounds like the roads are either non-existent or really, really poor. So they flew in, and on their first night there, they're in the jungle, and George is shining his flashlight around, and he sees the reflection of eye shine in the trees. Now, I'm gonna guess that most people know what eye shine is, and I know you do, Ben. But it's that you know how you'll turn in the dark. Like most people have cats or have seen cats, and their eyes light up when light hits it. Well, that's because they're nocturnal animals, and there's a weird extra layer in their eye to help them see in low light, and that ends up causing that eye shine reflection. The slow loris is nocturnal, so go figure it's got that. So, anywho, so what happens is he sees that and he realizes what it is. So he goes in to get a better look, and I'm doing my best to pronounce this right, but I think it's Cayenne or Cayenne is the specific type of slow loris. But that slow loris, of course, being smart, immediately tried to hide in the leaves, and it sounds to me like George shook the tree to try and see it.
No, he accidentally bumped it.
Oh, I see. When he says accidentally bumped it, I get the I get the feeling he more hip checked it, because what happened is he hit the tree hard enough to knock the slow loris out of the tree.
He's clumsy,
hit the ground, and way to go, you jerk. And so he ran up to it, and as Ben explained, this slow loris put its hands over its head in that defensive posture to try and make itself look like a cobra. And it, kind of swerved around. And then George, he grabbed it in some way. And of course, it didn't like that. And it bit him on the finger.
Sure did. But
shocker.
I wonder if it... the animal biting George on the finger, right? Would have it had enough time to actually lick its elbow to make that toxic mixture? That's what I was trying to think about when I was reading the same article. If before...
My guess is it must have, it must have
done
it
ready
when it
for
first
it.
Figured out he was coming at him,
Yeah, that's what I thought as well.
Yeah, because, I mean, maybe... here's a thing, and I just thought about this. I'm so good at researching things ahead of time that I've just thought about this. We were talking about... we just talked about how they put their hands around their head to make that cobra shape.
Yeah.
If you think about it, the crook of their elbow is now right next to their face, so they could just kind of real quick turn over and get a quick lick to create that toxin. That would make it really easy to get to, rather than, having to stop, bend down, lick its elbow, and then do stuff. That might be another reason that's set up in that way. But the point here is the thing bit George on the finger, and the bite was amazingly painful. He went almost immediately into anaphylactic shock, and he started swelling up. So his mouth and his lips... He said he had extreme pain in his chest and his abdomen, and eventually he would feel nauseous and weak and out of breath. George was a lucky guy, though, because his friend that was with him, because remember I said his friend David Nelson was there, David apparently knew that there was a village close by. They went to that village. They then dropped him into a Jeep. I think they put him in a Jeep and drove him like 10 minutes to the next village, where there was a medical clinic, and they gave him adrenaline. And a shot of adrenaline really helped him out. It helped, kind of get his system going and knock back the effects of the poison. If his friend hadn't thought quick enough to get him over there, he might have been in a seriously bad way.
Yeah, well, he's very lucky, isn't he? When you think about it, considering it's only the second ever case recorded in the world, and that's due to the anaphylactic shock.
Well, and I was going to say, I think it's only the second recorded, because I know that you and I had been going back and forth about this when we were talking about this originally. Yeah. The locals know not to mess with these things.
True. Yeah, absolutely.
So when they say it's only the second case ever recorded, they don't mean it's ever the second case ever. It's just that the locals knew better. Like, they all grew up going, if you play with that monkey, you're gonna get sick.
Yeah, okay. So, yeah, that's what I thought as well by reading that information, that obviously the locals have known about the power of this venom. And I also thought maybe they would use the venom, maybe to put on the end of a spear or something, like to kill other animals. But who knows?
Well, I don't think so, because the thing that I read, that I understood about the venom, is what comes out of that gland on its own isn't necessarily a powerful poison on its own. There's something about when it mixes it with its saliva, there's some kind of catalyst there that kicks it up into that venomous range. So if you were going to hunt a monkey to use as poison, you'd have to try and collect its saliva, and saliva doesn't, saliva dries up, it goes away. So it's hard to store, especially, if you're just trying to put it on the ends of arrows to shoot other animals with.
I was thinking of that because of the dart frog.
Yeah, no, absolutely. But the dart frog, I don't know this. You sound like you know a little bit more about the dart frog. So tell me, is the what it secretes? It's almost kind of gelatinous or gel-like, isn't it? Yeah.
Like
okay,
snot.
so it sticks around longer. Yeah, like snot.
Like snot. But it's a stuff that's on the skin, isn't it? I think it's on the skin of the dart frog.
Yeah. Well, and it's all frogs have that secreted layer on them. That's how they retain moisture. Or, not toads, but frogs typically. So that makes total sense.
So interesting. I love this animal side of Unnatural. We're totally going to do more strange animals in the future for sure. Okay, so did you hear in 2014, Lady Gaga tried to use one in her music video, but changed her mind after it bit her finger?
You mean Lady Gaga?
Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga.
Lady Gaga.
Yeah, that lady.
Good slow, Loris.
Yeah,
good.
no, she is so lucky that the one that bit her didn't make her sick.
Oh, that's true. Maybe it didn't get a chance to lick its the inside of its elbow.
Yeah, I'm guessing
Maybe.
that's the case.
Yeah, but also here's a little interesting fact. The slow loris is only one of 4 mammals in the world to dress up as Lady Gaga. I mean, sorry, to be venomous.
Yeah, I was going to say, I don't think they do that. That's not going to keep the predators away. Have you seen how people flock to her?
All she needs is venom.
Yeah. So you said it's only one of 4. So what are the other ones?
So the others are moles, shrews, which has a botanical name I'm not going to pronounce unless you want to pronounce it.
Oh, no, that's a lot of letters I don't know how to put together.
Should I try?
No, I wouldn't.
No.
I wouldn't try that.
Thank you, sir. And platypus is another mammal, and also vampire bats. So they're the 4 mammals that are venomous.
And they all use it for a different reason, which is just so strange to me.
Yeah, the platypus one is an interesting one, which I'll get onto soon enough.
Well, the vampire bats do it so as an anticoagulant.
Okay, so maybe in layman's terms.
Yeah, okay. So when a vampire bat bites something, it's harvesting the blood, and of course your blood is going to clot at the wound, and an anticoagulant is something that stops it from doing that. So it stops it from clotting, and so they can drink longer and harvest more, and that's what I was curious about why vampire bats were venomous, and that's the reason that they do it, which is also a weird thing. I just ruined it, and we just lost an episode. I used it too fast.
Oh my god! Maybe we can do one in the future on vampire bats. But the thing, the thing that makes me scratch my head is moles. I would always think of moles as being a cute, fuzzy little animal. I would never associate that as being venomous.
I now wish I had looked up how that one works, because now you got me curious, but I'll have to do it after this. All right. Well, hey, let's keep going here, because there's a really big problem for the slow loris It's that it's so freaking cute. And why is that the problem? Well, it's the problem because they've become a super valuable animal for the illegal pet trading business.
Yeah.
They're being sold on the streets all over Southeast Asia. They're being shipped overseas to countries as an exotic pet. And it turns out they're not too hard to look after. Apparently, their dietary needs are pretty easy for a pet collector in the city to furnish. So way to go, YouTube, for fostering an illegal trade. Way to go, guys. Now, this is the really insidious and horrible part about the pet trade of the slow loris, is the traders who do it is they cut their teeth out so that they're not able to bite their owners. And it's absolutely inhumane how they do it. I mean, never mind taking the teeth out of an animal is horrible, but the way they do it, you can look it up, listener, but it's listener beware. It's not a pleasant sight to see. And I know Ben and I have both looked at those images and complained about them.
Yeah, I don't like it.
No. I don't like going to the dentist, and I get Novocaine, man. Come on. They numb me up ahead of time. And they're not doing that for the poor slow loris. Yeah, I was. Huh? I'm always at the dentist. So the other sad thing for the slow loris is that they've been suffering habitat loss, and that's due to deforestation. It's, as more and more people move into the area, of course, you got to cut down forest and make farms and put up houses. And so it's pretty unfortunate for them that they're in decline. Their populations are in decline. And there have been efforts to survey the animals and try and figure out what their numbers are and to help return them back to their, the numbers previously that they believe should have been out there. And that's places like the San Diego Zoo are doing that. The San Diego Zoo does a lot of really good stuff like that. Yeah. But there's a whole bunch of other organizations that I believe are doing it as well.
Yeah, San Diego Zoo is a fantastic place to go with the kids. If you've got kids, listener, or if you just want to check out probably one of the best zoos in the world, man, it's amazing.
Yeah, as zoos go. Yeah, I mean, I always zoos are a catch-22 for me.
Really, why is that?
Do you know what I mean?
Why? Because they actually got locked up animals?
Yeah. It's really sad that these animals are stuck in cages, and even though they're doing their best to give them as natural a habitat as they can, if you've ever seen an animal that has obviously lost its marbles in a cage, it's pretty harsh. I'm not a big fan of zoos.
So you're not pro zoos?
For the most part, no. There are good things that zoos do, and I am not gonna, say that everything about the zoos are bad, but I generally am not a positive thing to me.
Fair enough. There is some cool zoos in Australia, though. In my state of Victoria, well, there's a zoo called Hillsville Sanctuary, and you'll probably find some platypus there, that interesting mammal that has a spur in its hind foot that we were talking about earlier.
Well, it's an Australian animal. I assumed you all had them as pets.
Oh, we all have them as pets. So I've got my cats, and I've got a pet platypus called Mr. Platypus.
You are so creative with your pet names. I love it.
Well, the other cats are called Mr. Cat and Mrs. Cat.
I would have expected nothing less than that.
So listener, the actual platypus has a gland that delivers toxic venom. So isn't that weird? And it's on its hind foot. So if you're ever in Australia, if you're deciding to walk along a freshwater creek in Australia and you happen to see a duck-like mammal, it would probably be a platypus. So if you see it, don't touch it. It will probably kill you. And as you know, listener, everything in Australia kills you.
Yeah, it's all trying to eat you and kill you.
10 of the most deadliest snakes in the world. We've got deadly spiders, got deadly camels, and kangaroos are deadly as well. Kangaroos have venom in their pouches. and just everything's bloody deadly in Australia. Hey, Steve, I found out about that mole.
You're kidding about the pouch thing. Please tell everybody. Let them know you are kidding about the venom in their pouch.
I'm kidding about the venom in the pouch, but I'm not kidding about venomous moles. So I found out how they're venomous.
All right. Let's have it.
So apparently it's European moles, and they produce venomous saliva. So when they attack their prey, they get them in a single bite, and obviously they deliver the venom through the saliva.
Okay, so that makes sense because moles attack small insects and things, and
like
snakes and weird stuff.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, beetles and stuff, but yeah. Okay, that makes sense. That makes sense.
Okay, so that makes sense.
Yeah.
So that was a really interesting story, wasn't it, Steve?
Yeah, I like the slow loris. He's cute.
Yeah, I know. Everyone wants to probably own a slow loris now. But remember, it's illegal and it's bad to own them because you'll probably get one that doesn't have teeth, and then it won't be able to, bite you and deliver a toxic venom into your skin, into your bones, into your blood. So this makes me think that next time I'm in Southeast Asia in one of the forests there, meandering a forest, looking at different animals and stuff, I'm going to have to be very careful if I do see a slow loris, because I do like the forests of Southeast Asia. But yeah, so it's funny. It's got a deadly side, and that's why it made the unnatural story of the day. So I hope you've enjoyed our unnatural story of the week. Be sure to subscribe to the podcast on the podcast app of your choice. And remember to find us on social media under Unnatural Podcast. And be ready for the next episode of Unnatural.
Bye, everybody. We'll talk to you next week.
Bye.